In Georgia, a married woman is at home with her 9-year-old twins when a strange man rings her doorbell, and he does it repeatedly, seeing if someone's home. She calls her husband. The guy goes to his truck, takes a crowbar, and actually breaks into her home. He goes through their stuff, and at some point he corners her in the attic, and she's forced to defend herself. Well, she doesn't grab a rape whistle, she grabs a firearm. Okay, not a semi-auto, but she grabs a revolver and she fires 6 shots, only missing once. She shoots him in the face, she shoots him in the neck. The guy runs out of there, he jumps in the vehicle, he drives away. He ends up in a nearby driveway, okay, bleeding out. The deputies show up and he begs them to take him to the hospital because he's dying. Well, this is a story that the local media is reporting on, but it's not a story that the national media is going to be talking a lot about. And this happens all the time. People are able to use firearms, such as this one, to defend themselves. So it allows a woman who's alone by herself to defend herself against a man who's attacking her or entering her home. That's one of the many things that a firearm does. And I was pretty critical about the revolver, and I still have some reservations about the revolver. But in that situation, that .38 revolver was a great tool she used to save her life and protect her family. Did you know that more people were killed with knives than actual rifles in 2011? Now, despite the rhetoric and the propaganda that a lot of the media is putting out about so-called assault rifles, and by the way, unless the gun is fully automatic, you can't even consider it to be a true assault rifle. But anyway, these semi-auto rifles, the idea that we should ban these guns to reduce crime and to reduce certain events. Well, Sandy Hook was an anomaly with a lot of questions about the official story. But putting that aside, statistically, when you look at the FBI data for 2011, it's pretty clear that rifles don't contribute to most of the murders in this country, or even a sizable minority of the murders in this country. Last year, the total murder rate dropped again. At least when you compare it to the 1990s, it's going down. It's been going down for a while. Okay, it was what? It was 12,664. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's completely unacceptable. All murders are bad, obviously. But out of all those murders, only 323 of them were committed with actual rifles. Now, this includes all rifles. Doesn't even just limit it to semi-auto rifles. Okay, so semi-auto rifles is a subgroup within rifles. 323. Okay, so in order for it to be 10%, it would have to have 1,200 murders to be 10%. In order for it to be 5%, it would have had to come in somewhere around 600 murders. So it's not even 5% of the total amount of murders. And when weapons are used in murders, only 323 of them are actual rifles. So these so-called semi-auto AK-ARs are not the problem in the country. And even when you compare it to the amount of people who use their fists, who use their feet, who use their own hands, more people kill people with their own fists and hands than all the rifles combined. What, 726 people were killed by fists, hands, feet, etc.? The amount of blunt objects, hammers, clubs, 496 people were killed versus 323 people killed with rifles. So this idea that these so-called assault rifles are the problem in the country, we should ban them, is just utterly ridiculous. Okay, let's talk crime, let's talk race, and let's talk about the numbers, because the big picture really matters. Crime in America has dropped dramatically since 1990, especially violent crime, and even more so, murders. In the year 1990, when we had a population of 250 million Americans, we had 1.8 million violent crimes. That number dropped to 1.3 million in 2009, when we had a population of 307 million. Over 60 million new Americans, yet we had 500,000 less violent crimes. The violent crime rate went from 729.6 in 1990 to 429.4 in 2009. Okay, that's a 300-point difference in a rate. That is tremendous. When you look at the murder, non-negligent manslaughter, basically malicious homicides for the most part, murders. In 1990, we had over 23,000 murders. Okay, that number dropped to around 15,000 in 2009. That's a huge drop. When you look at the murder rate, the murder non-negligent manslaughter rate, in 1990 it was 9.4, and it dropped to 5.0 in 2009. Now you have to remember, when you look at the background checks for a lot of people buying guns, that dramatic increase began somewhere around 2006, even before Obama got into office. So even though you've been having record gun sales, more and more law-abiding citizens buying guns, crime has not gone up as a result of that. In fact, crime has been going down. Now, I'm not saying more guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens has necessarily caused the crime rate to drop, but I'm saying that it definitely hasn't caused it to increase. Now, when you look at the overall situation, well, especially in 2010, let's talk race. Did you know that we had almost 13,000 murder victims in 2010, and about half of them were black? We had more black people get killed in 2010 than any other group, including white people, at least in terms of race. 6,043 white people, white victims, 6,470 blacks in the year 2010. Obviously, the total amount of murders are still going down, but even though blacks only represent 12% of the population, in 2010 we were vastly overrepresented in the amount of homicide victims. In 2011, it wasn't any better. In fact, it was worse, with 12,664 homicide victims total. Whites represent 5,825, whereas blacks represent 6,329. There's something seriously wrong in the black population. There's something wrong. And I think the war on drugs has made the situation a lot worse, but you'll never see politicians like Obama talk about the war on drugs, the overall effects of this war on terror where they're bombing innocent people. This isn't the big picture stuff people don't talk about. Bottom line, the mainstream media is misrepresenting the facts about murders and guns in America. Violence, the murders have been decreasing dramatically since 1990. More Americans owning guns has not contributed to more homicides, and overall it makes no sense to pass new legislation banning assault rifles. So I just want to present the information. The links are below. You can go through it. Anybody can respond to this video with a video response. Anybody can comment. I won't delete your comments. I won't block you. You're welcome to chime in on all these issues I brought up. Black people killing each other at an alarming rate. We represent over half the homicides in this country, even though we only represent 12% of the general population. It's absolutely startling. I think it's a result of a breakdown of the family and the community within the black population, and a lot of it's been contributed by a lot of policies, including the war on drugs. But share your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and don't forget the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Bye.